So, good day ma'am, my name is Alata Jerome B. So, for today, I do have the app that can do both things. Nga, kaya siyang record ko while galanda ko sa PPT while using my phone. Only one phone. So, masayon siya na gamiton karon. Kay, dali rin ako makalanda ko sa PPT while napog ko I do have my notes in here para madungan ang module ma'am. So, I'll start na. So, first, I report about the module 2. And obviously, reporter, me, Alida Jerome B. So, table of contents, Insane Correctional Facility, Auburn State Prison, Pennsylvania System, the different types of criminal punishment, including the incapacitation, deterrence, retribution, rehabilitation, restoration, age of enlightenment, personalities behind correction, institution, Cesar Marquez of Baccaria, Bonsaya, Cesar Lombroso, William the Conqueror, Enrico Ferri, Clifford Shaw. And that's our table of content. So next is Sing Sing Prison. So Sing Sing Prison involves Sing Sing Correctional Facility, the maximum security prison located in Ozone, New York. So Sing Sing Prison in the Hudson River at Ossining, New York. So, as we all know, that Sing Sing Prison is the oldest penal institution in the United States. So, mo ni siya pinakadugay. Ang kuan, pero ang Auburn State Prison kay 1816 siya na kuan na himo. Tapos it is also among the most well-known in the country, especially notable for its harsh condition in 19th and 20th century. So, it is originally known siya giila gining Sing Sing Prison as Mount Pleasant Prison. It was constructed in the village of Sing Sing on the east bank of the Hudson River. So, 48 kilometers north of the New York City. It was designed to provide additional prison space and to replace Newgate Prison. Kay ang Sing Sing Prison kay nag-overcrowding kay daghan na kay inmates. Construction was undertaken in 1825 by convicted laborers under the supervision of Elam Leeds. So si Elam Leeds, he is a warden sa Auburn Prison. Tapos a short background of Elam Leeds. So he helped create the Auburn Prison. So Elam Leeds helped create the Auburn Prison. So the initial facilities had 800 cells. So daghan na siya nga kuan nga silbi room sa inmate. The prison population rose in the mid 19th century, resulting the more construction. It is because kay nanaghan na ang inmates sa naabot siya og 1,600 inmates. The 4-story complex was on 6 stories. So ang upat nga kuan silbi nga ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, kay gihimo siya 6th floor. It is because kay daghan na kay inmates na naa sa Sing Sing Prison. Because of the early convicted criminals traveled by boat to Sing Sing, the praise up the river came to mean going to prison. So one of the notable visitors to the prison was Alexis de Tocqueville. So a short background of Alexis Tocqueville. Alexis Tocqueville, known as Tocqueville was a French aristocrat, diplomatic, political scientist, political philosopher, and historian. So kini si kuan nagi ni siya talino, nagi siya dakong utukan ni siya sa author of Democracy and America. The French government sent him and Gustave de Bonot to the United States in 1831 to gather information about the American penal system. So gidala siya didto para mo-gather og info about the American penal system. So the two men were amazed at the total subjugation under which prison work and administrative power the warden wielded at Sing Sing. So Leeds resigned as a warden of Sing Sing in 1830, but dili ta mabalaka kay gibalik siya sa Sing Sing prison in the year 1843. Um, and he was asked to leave the prison a year later after the death of prison who was punished severely for foreign illness. So, which means um foreign illness, it is a serious mental disorder. Muna siya ang foreign illness, a serious mental disorder in which someone deceives others by appearing sick, by purposely getting sick of by being an injury. So, whipping and flogging were commonplace punishment at Sing Sing. Frequently used was the cat nine tail, cruel whipping, contraption, whose lashes were often tipped with mental or barbs. In addition, while Leeds was warden, enemies were expected to refrain. Um, where is the refrain? Refrain. So, refrain from making noise. So, while si Leeds ang warden, di kit siya ka nagbanha. Ipa-stop niya ang kabanha, which including talking nga dapat hilom ra kay sa nga tanan ang presuhan. With the advent of electric chair in 1891, Sing Sing became notorious for its execution. So notorious kay ang Sing Sing kay tungod sa ilahang sa ilahang electric chair o sa advent electric chair sa ginagamit nila for execution. So ang electric chair, so kung nakakita na tayo electric chair, mo na siya nga palingkuron ka while ang execute ikon ka ipatune ka while using the electric. Although the electric chair was the bane of neighboring Auburn, almost all execution within the state were carried out the Sing Sing until 1963. The infamous death chair was later moved to Green Haven Prison. So, let's move on to Auburn State Prison. So, Auburn State Prison, located in Auburn, New York. So, parehara sila, New York. Opened in 1816. That's why I told na ang Sing Sing Prison, kay nag-open siya in the year 1826. So, 10 years ang labaw sa Auburn Prison. It established a disciplinary and administrative system based on silence, corporal punishment, and congregate group labor. In architecture and routine, Auburn became the model of prison throughout the United States. In the early 19th century, many Americans believed that industrialization and dramatic diplomatic, economic, and political upheavals had conspired against the traditional controls of family, church, and community. From their perspective, the moral guardians could no longer adequately control this order. So, di na gini mapungan nga problema. This saw crime as a product of social chaos, which means the complete disorder and confuse. So, kinakumpleto nga pagka-problema o nay pagkatingala, which is nakita nila sa crime. Necessary to its eradication was instructed environmental in which deviants could be separated from the disorder of society and contagion of one another. Their solution was to create the penitentiary, which means a person for people convicted of serious crime. A person for people convicted of serious crime. So, ang penitentiary kay gikuan gini siya sa mga tawo nga ni-convict og seryosong crime. Just like for killing, murder, ganyan. An institution of reforming offenders and ultimately restoring social stability. Auburn originally used concrete cells, but in 1821, Warden William Brittin, wala na ako ma-search siya. Concept of solitary cells from the so-called Pennsylvania system. So nala ko'y kuan gamay na dugang cells measured only. So ang cells sa Auburn system kay nare siya sa 1, ang iyang width kay 1.6 meters. So gamay ra kay siya, mga ana ra. Isa dili mga dari ra nimo dupa ka din dari na. For isa ka dupa. Tapos ang iyang katas-on kay 2.3. So kaya ang maibot niya sa 2.3 sa cell niya kay igo ra makatuong-tong ay kung ang imong kuan kay 7 flat ka, so hapit ang imong kuan sa dingding. Kaya ang kuan niya 7.5 feet. Tapos ang iyaang height kay 2.1 meters. Door face, outer walls, line natin. So, let's move on to Pennsylvania system. So, Pennsylvania system, the penal method based on the principle of solitary confinement fosters penitence and encourage reformation. So, ang solitary confinement is the isolation of a person in a separated cell as a punishment. So, kina makita kang mga salida nga na yung mga prisuan nga kinarang bintana ray makitaan, ang uban kay walay bintana. For example na kitong nay kita matong salida sa ni Mr. Bean na kalimot ko tay talato, basta itong nasya sa kuan mura siya kuan ba nga lahi siya nga cell nga mura siya gitagaag punishment ang usa ka kriminal. Di na to siya madawag criminal or inmates na gipanishan sa sulod sa prisuan. In 1829, the Eastern State Penitentiary on Cherry Hill in Philadelphia applied this so-called separate philosophy. Prisoners were kept in solitary confinement in cells 16 feet high. So, 16 feet high or 4.9 meters. Tapos, ang money ka niya, ka taas, so taas siya. Kay 16 feet. Tapos, ang iyang long, ang katas-on niya, kay 3.7 meters. So, dako ra. And 7.5 width. So, ang nakalaala niya, kasi may mas gamay itong sa Auburn system. Ay, Auburn prison. Ang kining sa Pennsylvania system, kay dako ang ilang prisuan. Ang room sa prisuan. An exercise yard completely enclosed, so prevent contact among prisoners was attached to each cell. Prisoners saw no except institution officer and occasional. So ginabawal ang cellphone o pag-communicate sa usag isa. So ang occasion sa pagbisita kung may bisita. Solitary penitence, however, was soon modified to include the performance of work such as show-making or weaving. So while ikaw ra sa isa sa imong sa imong cell or sa imong room sa prisuhan, naghatag ang silbi ang government ang rule sa or ang buhatonon silbi dili task nimo kay include shoemaking or weaving para the reason for this is to while naka sa prisuan pwede ka maka-export og stuff, tapos ang import nimo kundi i-barter, which is food. So different type of criminal punishment. So there are some punishment sa criminal punishment, klase-klaseng criminal punishment. So first is the incapacitation, to deprive offender of ability to commit crimes against society. So i-deprive nimo ang offenders of ability sa iyang abilidad na mo commit og crimes against the society So next is deterrence. So deterrence is the action of discouraging an action on event through instilling doubt or fear of the consequences. Hadlokon, which is the criminal penalties do not just punish violation, but also discourage other people from committing similar offenses. Mo ni kita nga damay-damay. Next is retribution. Damay-damay. So, ato sang ibalikan. So, one is a specific deterrence, analyze how effective punishment is on an individual's future behavior. Two is the general deterrence, seek to understand how individual punishment can deter others from committing crimes. The third is the marginal deterrence, seek to reconcile how effective different types of punishment are as either specific or general deterrence. And the partial deterrence refers to the situation in which the threat of penal has some deterrent value even when someone engaged in illegal behavior. So next is retribution. Retribution is a punishment inflicted on someone as vengeance for wrong or criminal act. So, as one of the oldest form of punishment, retribution has root in the Judeo-Christian tradition of justice. Ano siya ugat sa karaan ng justice, sa traditional justice, which is the Judeo-Christian. Next is rehabilitation. The result. So, ang rehabilitation is the act of restoring someone or something. Ang example, drug addict ka karon, rehab ka para i-educate ka kung unsay tamang buhaton, mo nang ma-restore ka. That is rehabilitation. It is a common prison policy in America up until the 1970s. Rehabilitation focused on helping criminals and prison overcome the barriers that led them to committing criminal act. It means na i-educate ka kung unsay sayop nimo o unsay what you mean na kinang kailangan pa nimong mahibaw-an within the accordance by the law para makabalo ka, tagaan kag knowledge. Next is the restoration o pagbalik, the action of returning something to a former owner, place and condition. So balikon ka as who you are. A radical different approach to criminal punishment, the goal of retribution is to for offender to make direct amends to both victim and community in which the crime was committed. So, pagpasaylo para ma-restore ka nga sayop imong gibuhat. Diba? The Age of Enlightenment. Personalities behind correctional institution. So, first is Caesar. Who is Caesar? So, Caesar or Caesar Binakia Bonsana Marquez, which is an Italian criminologist, jurist, philosopher, economist, and politician who widely considered one of the greatest thinkers of the Age of Enlightenment. So kini si Caesar Bonsana Marquez is a criminologist, Italian criminologist, and gikonsidera siya nga greatest. So knowledgeable kay ni siya nga pagkatao, greatest thinker of the Age of Enlightenment. Next is Marquez of Barrica Bonsane. So, December ni siya nga Italian economist and proponent in judicial reform, was the author of the most famous Italian work, Enlightenment on Crimes and Punishment, in the year 1764. So, Cesar Lombroso. So, Cesar Lombroso is an Italian criminologist, penologist, physician, and founder of the Italian school of positivist criminology. So, he is an Italian criminologist, physician, to describe as the father of the modern criminology. Siya ang ama ng bagong ano bang Tagalog ng criminology? Basta criminology siya ang kuan siya. Theory of the born criminal. Dominated thinking about criminal behavior in the late 19th and early 20th century. So, akong ganyan siya ay kuan Italian, but the specific year is November 6, 1835 to October 19, 1909. He is the founder of Italian of the positivist criminology. He rejected the established of classical school, which held that crime was characterized trait for human nature, and that rational choices were the founder of behavior. Ano to? Next is William the Conqueror. So, William the Conqueror, sometimes called William the Bastard, was the first Norman king of England, reigning from, ano siya, William the Bastard. Mo na kasagaran niya ingon nga William the Bastard. But he is the first Norman king of England. So dili siya mo kuan nga nagi siya knowledge para ma-enlighten sa kuan pa sa atong kuan sa atong kini para siya dili lang gid siya kuan, dili lang siya bastard, but the first Norman king of England para ma-enlighten, age of enlighten, para makatabang inana. Next is Enrico Ferri. Enrico Ferri is a criminologist, socialist, and student of Cesar Lombroso. So, si Enrico kay estudyante sa ama ng bagong criminology. Estudyante siya. The founder of Italian School of Criminology. Mga na yung background niya. Next is si Clifford Shaw. Clifford Shaw was an American sociologist and criminologist. He was the major figure of Chicago School of Sociology during 1930s and 1940s. And considered to be one of the most influential figure in American criminology. So, gikonsidera siya nga influential figure sa American criminology. His work on juvenile delinquency with Henry D. Mackay, conducted in the late 1920s, played a pivotal role in moving the study of such delinquency towards the disciplinary of sociology and away from psychology and psychiatry. So, the project delinquency prevention program in the Chicago area. The two studies published by Shaw and Mackay in 1930s and 40s were still held in high regard among social scientists in the 1970s. So, and that's all. That's my report of Module 2, the history of philosophy and objectives of imprisonment, development of prison. So that's all for my report, and it's about 23.45 minutes. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and if you do have any questions, just comment lang. Ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am, and have a good day.